If I were to ask you who holds the record for the most points in an NBA game, you'd probably laugh in my face. Everybody knows it's Wilt Chamberlain, who famously dropped 100 points on the New York Knicks back in 1962. But do you know who holds the record for the most points in an NCAA game? I bet you don't. Which is pretty wild because although it happened in a lowly D3 game, Jack Taylor's record of 138 points is never going to be touched. If the 100-point game seems like an anachronism, a relic of a bygone era in basketball history, that's because it is. Or it was. The first officially recognized 100-point game at the college or professional level went down in 1954 when Clarence Bevo Francis of Rio Grande College exploded for 113. And the last 100-point game of the 20th century was Chamberlain's in '62. Over the ensuing decades, as basketball's popularity grew and competition improved to the point where physical outliers like Chamberlain couldn't effortlessly impose their will, no college or pro player came close to 100 again. To this day, in fact, the second highest single-game points total in NBA history is 81. That also happens to be the high watermark for a Division I college player since 1954. Ultimately, as time passed, 100 points became not just impossible, but mythological, the kind of feat that strained credulity. As it happens though, exactly 50 years after Chamberlain's 100-point game, that seemingly unattainable benchmark was reached again, and frankly obliterated, by a little-known player at a little-known college. Grinnell College. A humble Division III program in a town of less than 10,000 people, Grinnell College gained national notoriety in the 1990s thanks to their hyper-aggressive, run-and-gun style of play implemented by head coach Dave Arsenault. Under Arsenault's system, which gave off serious Paul Westhead vibes, Grinnell prioritized scoring above all else, and the team adhered to an unusual set of strategic principles, including 1. The first available shot is the best shot, 2. Take as many three-pointers as possible, and 3. On defense, always double-team the ball carrier. Their style of play was unorthodox, but it worked. Under Arsenault, a program that had previously gone a quarter century without a winning season became a consistent winner and an offensive behemoth. The Pioneers on multiple occasions led the nation in scoring and three-pointers made. And it was this system that enabled Jack Taylor in 2012 to author what was arguably the most mesmerizing performance in the history of college basketball. Now, did Jack Taylor grow up dreaming of making history for Grinnell College? Of course not. The 5'10" guard out of Black River Falls, Wisconsin wanted to go to a Division I school and eventually turn pro like his idol, Kobe Bryant. But despite receiving interest from Columbia as a high school senior, a devastating knee injury scuttled Taylor's chances of landing a D1 scholarship. Instead, he ended up taking a circuitous route to D3 Grinnell, transferring there as a 22-year-old sophomore after a frustrating freshman season at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. Taylor was intrigued by the Pioneers' unconventional offense. As he put it, he was curious to see how his shooting ability would translate into the Grinnell system. The answer? Pretty well. Although not at first. In his first game with Grinnell, Taylor attempted 18 three-pointers. He only made 3 of them. In his second game, he went 3 for 19 from downtown. Taylor was clearly grasping the concept of the system. The execution just wasn't there yet. So, in an attempt to get his new transfer going, Arsenault decided that Taylor would start Grinnell's next game, a home contest against the still winless Faith Baptist Bible College. And yeah, it would be an understatement to say that Taylor got going against Faith Baptist. On that Tuesday night, in front of barely 1,000 fans at the Darby Gymnasium, Taylor delivered one of the most mind-boggling individual performances that the game of basketball has ever seen. Now, believe it or not, Taylor actually missed 3 three-pointers and a jumper in the game's first minute and 11 seconds. But Taylor wasn't bothered, and neither was his head coach. The bench kept telling him to shoot. So he did. A lot. Despite his slow start, less than 9 minutes into the game, Taylor had already racked up more than 20 points on more than 20 field goal attempts. His pace, the Pioneers' pace, was simply astonishing. Every few seconds, it seemed, Taylor was throwing up another shot. And he was hitting a whole lot of them. In the last 5 minutes of the first half alone, Taylor attempted 11 shots. And when the halftime buzzer sounded, Taylor had 58 points. That was 12 more than the opposing team and well clear of his personal high watermark from high school. He reached that mark on a staggering 50 shot attempts, 32 of them from downtown. Yeah, I told you Grinnell was wacky. And get this, when Grinnell's teammates learned that the new guy already had 58, they spent halftime drawing up plays to keep feeding Taylor the ball in the second half. They wanted him to do something special, and he did. Faith Baptist knew what Grinnell was trying to do. They knew it was going to be Taylor taking the shot on almost every possession, and it didn't matter. They couldn't stop him, because Taylor found his stroke in the second half, shooting better than 50% from the field, on 58 shots. In other words, there was still plenty of game left as Taylor approached and ultimately reached the hallowed 100-point mark.
They're going for it, they're going for it! 100 points for Jack Taylor! Wilt Chamberlain, what do you gotta say?
Yeah, unlike Wilt, Taylor wasn't finished. Actually, it was at that point that Taylor started knocking down threes with reckless abandon. In fact, Taylor's last 7 field goal attempts of the night were all three-pointers. He hit every one of them, whipping the crowd into an absolute frenzy as his point total soared into the 130s. Finally, with 1:37 left on the clock, Taylor sunk his last baskets of the night, a pair of free throws that brought his final tally to 138. 138 out of his team's 179. Wow. Look, you can say it was a D3 game, you can say Grinnell was playing an inferior opponent, you can even say that what the Pioneers and Taylor did was unsportsmanlike, running up the score like that for the sake of setting records. Regardless though, you still have to acknowledge that 138 points in a 40-minute basketball game is nothing short of completely insane, truly a performance for the ages. Not only did Taylor obliterate the NCAA record for points in a game that night, but he also established single-game records for field goals made, field goals attempted, three-pointers made, three-pointers attempted, and points in a half with 80. All told, he averaged a field goal attempt every 20 seconds. It was ridiculous. So much so that a 70-point night from Faith Baptist's David Larson got completely ignored. It was the kind of once-in-a-lifetime transcendent performance that could turn a sophomore at a D3 program into the center of the basketball world.
That's crazy, man. I don't care what level you're at. Scoring 138 points is pretty insane. How many threes did you shoot?
He 27 of 71.
Oh. How many points did he score as a team?
179.
What?
No other starter at double figures.
That's
He
incredible.
shot up.
Dude on the other team at 71. Like, you think you'd be pretty happy
Really?
with 71, yeah.
He actually
Wow.
shot under 50%. It was 52 for 108.
That's amazing. He must have been wearing the Mambas, man. That's only Mambas have no conscience to shoot the ball.
0 assists. I think you might need to work on your sharing.
Yeah, I was a bit of a ball hog last night.
Yeah.
And are you ready for this? That game wasn't even Taylor's only 100-point game at Grinnell. The following season, as a junior, Taylor dropped 109 points against Crossroads College, becoming the first player in NCAA history with multiple recognized 100-point games. However, Taylor's basketball career reached its pinnacle at Grinnell. Despite leading the nation in scoring in his senior year, Taylor went undrafted in the 2015 NBA draft. And by 2016, he had given up on his dream of making it to the NBA. But although he never made it to the highest level, Taylor still made his mark on basketball's history books. And now, when someone asks you who holds the record for the most points in an NCAA game, you have no excuse for not knowing the answer.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.